Hi everyone, welcome back to another video. If you're new, welcome. My name is Kari and this is Sanai. Before I do get into these tips and this video, I do just want to make it known that I am not a lactation therapist. I am not any of that. I'm not a nurse. These are just tips that help you guys through my experiences as a mom. Sanai is about to be 12 months old on April 20th, so I've had a good amount of experience with breastfeeding. I'm still breastfeeding to this day, so just thought to make this video to help anyone who don't really have the support like I had when I first started. As you guys can see in the title today, I'm just going to be giving you some tips for breastfeeding. In my family, I was the first one to breastfeed out of my mom, my grandma, my aunt. So I didn't really have someone to give me like thorough advice or tips on breastfeeding. I just had to reach out to lactation therapists or, Google it or look up on mommy apps. So I thought to just make this video to share for any other females out there that don't really have that support, to show them how to breastfeed, or even not show them how to breastfeed, but just give them tips, because everyone's different. You're not gonna have the exact same experience, just like anything else. You won't have the exact same experience as someone else did, but at least you guys can get some helpful tips to help you along the way. And I like helping, giving tips and all that other stuff. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. The first topic that I really want to touch on, honestly, is production. So me personally, like I said, everyone's story is going to be different, but like you guys can see in my previous video that I did on my labor, I actually pumped, like I breast pumped to induce myself for my labor. So yeah, that had a lot. You want this? Yeah. I pumped to induce myself, and I honestly feel like that helped a lot with my milk production. I mean, if you're gonna produce milk, you're gonna produce it. If you're not, you're not. But I honestly felt like pumping before he was even here helped my body like start the process, because yeah, there is a such thing as supply and demand. As much as you supply, as much as you breastfeed and give milk, the more you'll make. So I feel like me pumping before he was even born honestly helped a lot with the milk. I will mention a little hiccup I had, but as far as like me actually having a problem producing milk, thank God, honestly, thank the Lord that I never had any problems with that. One thing that I did notice though, because I was trying to breastfeed throughout the day, but at night I was trying to, like, actually pumping slows down your production. It's not the same as the actual baby breastfeeding. The pump isn't the same suction or anything, so your body it's not making more milk. So I had to learn that. I had to actually, of course, go through it and learn it. But when I was trying to get my milk production back up from my experiences of not really producing that much while trying to, pump so that his dad can help me throughout the night, I actually had to research a lot of trying to find different ways to produce more milk, because like I said, I didn't have my mom or anyone to give me advice on how I would produce more milk. So things that actually worked for me when I was breastfeeding to help me produce more milk was oatmeal, because the oats in it help. I tried mother's milk tea, which helped a lot. The coconut milk, I would say coconut milk, which I got Body Armor. The Body Armor drinks help you produce a lot. And I would say oatmeal. Did I already mention oatmeal? Oatmeal. All those things will help you so much with production. And I would honestly suggest to try, if I were you, I would try my hardest to mostly breastfeed, like from your, like actually physically breastfeed, instead of, trying to pump and breastfeeding. Women who do both things and are successful with it, but what I would suggest to you from my experience is to definitely try your hardest to just breastfeed for the most part. A lot of people don't have the privilege of working from home or being a stay-at-home mother, so it is understandable if you have to pump, but I would suggest limiting, very much so limiting how much you pump. Another thing that I found that helps your production. When I was on the search to find it, I saw that power pumping helps. Power pumping definitely helps. Now I'm saying not to pump, but if you ever come to the circumstance of you having to pump, then power pumping definitely will help you so much in that realm. And when you first start off breastfeeding, if you're not finding a position that works a lot for you, I would suggest to try different positions. There's so many different positions that you can find that will actually work just for you. I go to the same position every time I breastfeed, and it's been like that ever since I've started. So just try the different positions. I'll probably insert some different positions. Of course, you guys can Google it or Pinterest or search it yourself, but I'll put a few different positions in here. So hopefully you guys will find one that is your favorite and run with that. Last thing, other than the power pumping, the supply and demand, which actually does help with production, and all the products that you can intake that helps with production, I would definitely suggest to feed on demand, because that would help a lot too. Of course, your baby's growing, especially in the first few months. Your baby's growing a lot at a time, so their eating habits will change and everything will change. But so that your body can keep up with it, I would just always suggest to feed on demand. I don't really think that I try to stick to a strict schedule when I first had Sinai, because I knew that I should just go with the flow. If I try to put myself on a schedule with things, it would just make it more stressful. So I automatically, fed on demand, and that could have honestly also helped out with my production. There's no telling. So now that we are off of the production, which I hope I was able to assist you in a few different ways that you never heard about, for helping you to produce more milk. I know if you're watching this video, you're probably searching online for different ways to help you with breastfeeding, and I really hope that my few tips that I did have will help you tremendously. The topic that I am going to touch on is milk storage. So if you are pumping, and if you can't help but to pump, then of course you're going to have to store your milk. From what I was taught from a lactation therapist, the frozen milk, the milk that you will store, only lasts 4 hours in the fridge and 4 days in the freezer. If I were you, I honestly would not even let it go too long on the counter. The only time that I would put it on the counter is if I was thawing it out. One of the biggest things that I would suggest to you, if you have someone else around your house that you are breastfeeding and you are pumping and storing milk, I would highly suggest that you make it so that you get some kind of bags or something the milk can't spill, because I'm trying to tell you, it may not seem like that much of a big deal right now, hearing people talk about spilled milk or whatever, but spilled breast milk is very stressful. I've cried a few times over it. Sinai's dad doesn't really pay attention. He doesn't really pay attention to things that he's doing. So in my journey of pumping, when I was pumping, before I would just cut it all out and just went exclusively breastfeeding, his dad spilled at least 5 bags, full bags of milk. And when I tell you, that is the most stressful thing ever, because it's you actually go through the time of pumping and doing all that. It's not like it's fun. I mean, you don't mind doing it, but it's not you wake up and oh, I can't wait to I can't wait to pump today. I just said to hell with it. I just said, forget that. I'm gonna I just started exclusively breastfeeding because it was not worth it at that point. I'm not sure, I don't know, but whoever you're living with, if they are not, careful or whatever, just make sure you get because I had the storage bags that are flimsy. I don't know. I didn't have pouches. There were pouches, but they were still flimsy. It's plastic flimsy pouches. I would suggest getting something that could at least stick to a counter or something. Honestly, that is one of the biggest things, because it really is heartbreaking. I know hormones are still going through my body or whatever when in the beginning when I was actually pumping and storing the milk, but I'm pretty sure anyone would cry over it. Like every time that it was spilled, I was crying because that's just stressful. Because you now have to make up for that milk too. So it's like, yeah, you just don't want to deal with that. So that is definitely a tip that I would suggest for you to do. Make sure your storage bags are something that are durable, like something that won't just easily spill. Sometimes, you know, people have problems when they first start off breastfeeding because the latch is incorrect. And that causes pain. So people automatically connect breastfeeding with pain, and that's honestly what my mom did. She just could not understand why I was breastfeeding for some reason, because she just thought it was painful. But honestly, the latch is what makes it painful. You just have to make sure that the latch is correct. And like I said, if you need help with that, then always just contact or consult a lactation therapist. But if the latch is correct, then you shouldn't have any problems at all with breastfeeding. Thing that I never even heard about before, like it happened to me, was engorgement. Oh my gosh. Engorgement is where your boobs just fill up with milk and they pretty much get rock hard, just full of milk, and it's painful, but it goes away. I mean, hot water, heat compresses, a lot of different things can help them. But I don't want to scare you in this video, but I do want to forewarn you. I mean, if you're pregnant with your first child, I would have liked to know these things. I'm letting you know that there's a such thing as engorgement. Look into it more if you want, but it's a such thing. I mean, I'm pretty sure it happens to most moms. When you first have your child, your boobs are just gonna be full of milk, like complete, like they're gonna at least go up a few sizes because it's gonna be so full of milk, and it may hurt, but like I said, heat compresses and things like that do relieve the pain. Of course, breastfeeding relieves the pain, and continuously breastfeeding so that it doesn't happen again will definitely help you tremendously in many ways. I mean, I knew that, but I just did not know about the engorgement. So yeah. How you know that your child is getting enough breast milk is if they have 4 to 5 dirty diapers a day, they're gaining weight, and they just seem fine after they eat. Of course, the baby will let you know if they're still hungry, and if they're hungry a lot, then you should, I wouldn't say be concerned, but just start to look into maybe different positions or reaching out to a lactation therapist just to figure out better ways to breastfeed, because if they're not gaining weight and they don't seem as happy when you're done breastfeeding, then something is just not right, and you want to figure that out before, you know, things get to be too bad. Make sure you drink a lot of water, because you are feeding yourself and your child. Make sure you're eating a lot and drinking a lot of fluids, because you are eating for 2 people, so you want to have, you know, enough supply for 2 people. You don't want to feel, I do find myself sometimes feeling a little nauseous or something, like a little weak sometimes if I don't eat a lot throughout the day, because regardless of anything, Sanaa is still eating. So if I'm not eating, I will find myself feeling a little sick. So make sure you are keeping up on your fluid intake and you're actually eating 3 meals a day at least, so you don't feel groggy or crappy. I do see a transition, maybe it's just the Black community, but I do see a lot of people starting to breastfeed, which is great, because the more the better. I would honestly suggest to not listen to the naysayers. Like, people will try to force you to do something. They will try to force you to do something just because they did it, and that doesn't mean that it'll work for you, to be honest, because like I said, my mom, my aunt, my grandma, none of them, and those are the 3 women that I was to when I was going through my pregnancy and, you know, learning about different things, or trying to research different things that I wanted to do when I was here. And they were the women who, you know, I was talking a lot to, or that I was getting a lot of insight from when I was pregnant. And if I would have listened to them, you know, because they didn't breastfeed, they thought it was painful. They didn't want to breastfeed because they thought it was painful. So if I would have just, you know, taken their advice and not breastfed because I thought it was painful, because they thought it was painful, that's not, I honestly just didn't want to go with that, because I know the many benefits that breastfeeding brings, and there's so many benefits that, you know, that regular formula that formula just can't do for your baby. So research all the benefits that breastfeeding comes with. There's so many, and I don't really agree to just following someone else's footsteps because they went through it, so you should go through it. Like, I really don't think that that's a good reason. I think you should at least try breastfeeding first, because a lot of people, the reason why they don't do it is because they say that it's painful, but it's not. It's really not if you're doing it the correct way. So definitely at least try it, because there are so many women out there that want to breastfeed, that actually know the benefits of breastfeeding, but they can't produce any milk. So if you are able to produce milk, I would suggest to just try it. even throughout my breastfeeding journey with my son, my mom still just cannot grasp the idea of why, she just didn't understand. And that's fine, because I mean, that's her perspective, that's how she looks at the situation. But for me and my son, I know that I wanted him to really have like the best if I'm able to provide that for him. So why not? You know what I'm saying? Why not at least try? And I think you should at least try as well. I hope you guys really got some very helpful tips from this video. I try not to make it too long. I didn't want to ramble too much, but these are just helpful tips that I wish I knew before I gave birth. I mean, I'm so blessed to have gone through the experience, and honestly, it was not that stressful for me. It could have been because I was prom babe before he was even born, honestly, to be honest, for real, but I could have not had problems before, or I could have not had problems with breastfeeding because I pumped a lot before he was born. But if you are watching this video because you're looking at different ways or looking up different ways to help you with breastfeeding, or just looking into it, I would highly suggest to take heed to the things that I mentioned in this video. Another thing that I do want to say is, I mean, I understand that a lot of women do have the breastfeeding pillows, like the pillows that the baby lay on when they breastfeed, but for one, I just feel like that was not necessary. If anything, it complicated it more. Sometimes they may make the situation more stressful too. So if you find yourself, very stressed out because your baby is not laying correctly or whatever on the pillow, I honestly did not use, I had a boppy or whatever I had used, but I just ended up not using it because it made the experience more difficult. So that's one more little tip that I'm going to throw in there. Try not to just try to make it as simple as possible. You may like the pillow, your baby may like the pillow, and if they do, then that's really good. But if they don't, then you don't have to have it. And that's just where I'm gonna end it. I hope you guys really enjoyed this video, and if you guys like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I will be doing more videos like this, just helpful tips, things that I'm going through or that I've gone through while raising Sinai, that I just want to share as much as I can with you guys. That may not have, a mother figure or a figure in their life that can help them with these things. YouTube is here for a reason, so I just want to help as many people as I can. Bye. That says bye too.